At least 9 people are dead in the Marganets region of Ukraine after a Russian drone struck a city bus full of people on their way to work. Ukraine's national police releasing this footage Wednesday morning depicting the aftermath. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky calling the bombing a deliberate war crime. Once again, he's calling for an immediate ceasefire, saying the U.S. proposal introduced back in March was reasonable. But for it to come to fruition, Russia must stop the killing. The White House, however, isn't putting the onus on the Kremlin.
We've issued a very explicit proposal to both the Russians and the Ukrainians, and it's time for them to either say yes or for the United States to walk away from this process.
European, Ukrainian, and U.S. leaders are once again in London to try and hammer out a deal. Noticeably absent is U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said last week that the U.S. was gearing up to give up on negotiations. While in Paris with Rubio last Friday, European officials said they were briefed on Trump's deal framework, which included forcing Ukraine to recognize Russia's annexation of Crimea. Wednesday morning, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance seemingly confirmed that plan.
We're going to freeze the territorial lines at some level close to where they are today.
In March of 2014, Russian troops invaded and annexed Ukraine's Crimean Peninsula, sparking widespread condemnation and sanctions against Russia. Although Vance did not specifically mention Crimea, he did state not once but twice that land would change hands.
That means the Ukrainians and the Russians are both going to have to give up some of the territory they currently own. There's going to have to be some territorial swaps.
Those comments sparking concerns amongst those in Kyiv who've long contended that Crimea is an integral part of Ukraine and should not be used as a bargaining chip in talks with Russia.
We do not need peace at this price. Boys have been dying for more than 10 years, and we cannot betray them.
Some residents also suggesting the U.S. step aside from negotiations, saying Trump is not the only option when it comes to brokering peace. Now, Zelensky has long rejected any acknowledgement of Russia's claim to Crimea, and that's something that's not going over very well with Donald Trump. On social media Wednesday afternoon, the president contradicting his administration, stating how no one is asking Zelensky to recognize Crimea as Russian territory and asking why Ukraine did not fight for Crimea if they wanted to keep it. He also blamed Zelensky's, quote, inflammatory statements for making it so difficult to settle this war. For City News, I'm Karling Donoghue.